This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.
This is the emergency broadcast system. The Purge has begun. All crime is legal for 12 hours.
I'd like a kid's meal, please. King of the Purge!
Welcome. We have returning guest as always, blogger Erica Wright.
Thank you for having me again.
Always an awesome time. Introducing to the show from Film Feast, we got Carmelita Valdez. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You always do some roundtables on that respective show, you know, everything from Ridley Scott to Michael Mann to just other divisive filmmakers, you know, and here we are with a divisive film franchise. You could call this a syncology, I guess.
Yeah, you could. I think that fits.
We are in the depths of Blumhouse terror. Action, sci-fi, dystopia horror, and social commentary fueled Purge Saga from John McCaffrey. And this was actually a lot of fun to do some research for, because it is kind of a underrated kind of black social horror movie, and he actually has noted how minority audiences are pretty akin to it, like they get all the messages and everything. So that was fun to kind of look at, and I did have to look up certain characters' backstory because I knew it was complex. We got everything from political assassinations to Black Panther turned revolutionaries. You know, it's something. I've seen a lot of people who like these as light movies. I see other people who really love it, and then I see others who hate it, but they just saw like one of the lesser entries or whatever. And but it's funny how everyone knows about it, I think, because it's just the gimmick. It's easy to even make a parody of it. It's that kind of, you know, an annual event. Every crime you want to commit is illegal.
It's a great idea. And
The Republicans who put it on
even if someone has never seen the films or only saw the first one and never went forward,
right?
That concept, like the basic idea behind this, everybody can understand. It's going to be interesting. I think so. I'm just going to tell you, I watched all 5 Purge movies over the weekend.
Man,
Oh, wow.
I went. I was all in, and watching them back to back like that, I was just really struck with how ballsy this franchise is. It's really ballsy to go this hard.
Man-ish, kind of the whole we're eating ourselves alive, but instead of watching people kill each other on TV, we're actually just going and committing crimes. Like the neighbor who you can't stand. What if you want to blow his brains out tomorrow and then take all his shit? It's just
Yeah.
What?
So
Okay.
many crazy action sequences, and you know, all of that like survival type horror, people trying to make their way through a city downtown area and survive all these booby traps and assailants coming out of the shadows. But there's all this great psychology in here too, the psychology of the villains, the psychology of the purgers, the psychology of the people trying to survive.
I want to take your spouse, I want to take this house. And it's like, no, it's even more than that. Like, you wronged me at the company meeting 5 years ago. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah, like the grudges coming out for just obscure stuff. I definitely I really resonate with kind of the political themes in this movie, that it's really an excuse for the government to kill people who are on like some form of public assistance, or like just considered a drain on the system.
They don't have to get an FBI subpoena with a shoot on sight to basically take all these people down. It's just sinister too, because it's just like how you see how narcs go after warring gangs and everything, but it's like, what if they all had permission to just do whatever? And the sequels do an interesting topic of, now we're in Texas where no one honors any code. They're gonna keep killing, but it's gonna be for like 96 hours now. It is wild though how so many political affiliations are targeted in this, and I haven't seen any of them raise their lip. Because it's almost like the Starz TV show Power. You kind of get the sense that it has hit real deep. They don't want to bring any form of attention to it. They're like, oh, how do you know my secrets? Catch me with my pants down? How dare you? I was just gonna sign a bill like that into office. Oh, better think again. Better wait 10 years.
Well, that I remember, I think it was an election year that had the Keep America Great slogan, but that came out before Donald Trump's reelection campaign, where he used Keep America Great.
Someone was looking at social media and saying, hey, what if crazies like this gathered around in New York City and took... So I had seen some critics compare it to Escape from New York, Panic Room, even Die Hard, just that kind of just isolated takeover. But I think it's a good hit for Blumhouse, because it just shows how they're more experimental now. They're not just relying on James Wan or Jordan Peele. They're just like, we just want James McCaffrey. Were you guys familiar with him?
I know the name, but I'm just not placing.
So he had done The Negotiator, then he did the Hostage Crisis Spike TV miniseries, The Kill Point. And so that's basically what festered all the friendships with Frank Grillo and John Leguizamo and company. And
okay.
Every other actor you've seen on The Wire, they're pretty much in it. But then he did the Assault on Precinct 13 remake with Ethan Hawke, and it all went from there. So, he seems to... It's one of those, it doesn't always go as deep as you think it will, but I don't feel like it's a cop-out or anything. No pun. It's like, okay, it's popcorn, but it's like Romero. It's not forcing it on you, but at the same time, you're getting all these Captain Rhodes type, war criminals, militia guys. It's like, yeah, you want to see a white supremacist villain? Here you go. You want to see a revolutionary guy who's done bad things, but is the unexpected support guy. Saves the hero. Perfect. And
I actually saw all of these in the theater, so I just have to revisit some on streaming services this past week, just to kind of refresh my memory. But I mean, I swear some of them are even creepier and more a little too on the nose with current events than they were when they first came out. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
They couldn't help themselves. But I guess because it's horror sci-fi, people are just somehow the crazies who would... I get a sense that if any just awful like militia guy or terrorist guy saw this movie, they probably stormed out. They're like, how'd you know? I feel exposed, kind of like how people are going to Parler when they're revealed for saying awful douchey things. I got that kind of sense from it. It's like, if you're squirming in your seat uncomfortably and it's not from the terror sequences, it's probably because, I don't know,
you feel called out.
Right. I mean, that's possible. But then look at something like The Matrix or like Fight Club. There are people, who saw those movies, and even though the filmmaker had a point they were trying to make,
let's misinterpret it.
Totally different away from
some folks twist that in a completely different direction to their own end. So who even knows? But I thought it was kind of cool. I was reading back at interviews James DeMonico did, And he did quite a few in 2021, you know, because Forever Purge was coming out. And I mean, he's just very candid. He did an interview with Fangoria, and he talked about it's inherently political. Like the studio and the producers kind of keep me in check because I always want to push it further.
Yes. Well,
you know, and he did another interview with Broke Horror Fan.
I love that name. I will check that out.
And on their website again, 2021, around the Forever Purge, and he says it's not subtle. It's not meant to be subtle. I don't want it to be subtle. If some people feel preached at, so be it. You know, I'm paraphrasing, but
you might as well go for it.
Yeah, he's very clear about, no, I want this to be political. It's on the nose, intentionally so.
Surprisingly, people who generally avoid politics, I haven't seen in any of their positive or negative reviews even mention of the politics. I think somehow it's a miracle. No one politicized this movie.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I think maybe it's because
they got all these incels going, oh my God, a strong female lead. Guy who's manly and macho returns to the 80s crappy movies. Him like, okay, chill. Yeah, no, surprisingly, I am not. But I'm glad you brought up the Fight Club and Matrix thing, because I would say even going as far back to even like, I'd even equate this to like falling down. You see neo-Nazis are like, I want to be like defense, even though he even kills a Nazi in that movie. Did you even watch the same movie? But
oh gosh. Yeah, I remember years ago, I don't remember which Purge movie was the most recent one at the time, but there was like a hardcore Trump supporter on my feed who was like, I was friends with this person before all of those elections. I didn't really know their political stance, but when they felt free to say what they really thought, they went really balls to the wall with it. But they were they took away the message that the Purge was a good thing, and maybe we could implement that. And I'm just like, what? Did you pay any attention to this at all?
We did a person of interest episode, and to my horror, I found out the guy was like, oh, we should totally have a system like this. I'm like,
no.
This whole point is that it doesn't work. Inevitably, someone violates it to invade your privacy.
No,
and he was another bitter divorce prick who was jumping on bandwagons. But again, I didn't know until like the second hour where he showed himself. I'm like,
this happens.
I'm gonna have to do some serious editing.
I think one of the things about the Purge that's really cool is that the first one, it's just contained in this house with this family,
one location,
and we get some of the political stuff.
Yes,
but it's definitely the most subtle of all the films. And I love how over the course of the 5 films, we get more and more on the backstory of how the Purge happened, about how it was instituted.
He's looking at people suspiciously. He's like, what's your deal, dude?
It's great. I really like that aspect.
People don't give it a chance just because inevitably a child endangers the family. I'm like, well, but you were okay with that in the 80s and 90s. What's different here?
Right. I feel like I don't know why people are more negative about the first one. Like, I think the whole series is pretty solid, honestly.
I've had to tell a lot of people, is like, give it a chance. If you don't like that one, much like Friday the 13th, just go on to the next one. Just
right. And I do think, I liked the first one. I think the second film, Anarchy, is even stronger just because of the wider scope, and then you do get more of a sense of the political climate. And it's also, for me, just more interesting seeing, okay, well, how do lower income people try to survive on this night because they can't afford these expensive home security systems and like the other things that like the family from the first film had that didn't even work out that well for them. Well, what if you're in, like, you live in the projects and you can't do anything to like really you can't really reinforce your home in the same way or barricade the entry points. And I mean, that movie just became this wild ride as these characters meet up and they're making their way through the city, and then like the way it ends was that was a fun twist too.
Appropriately bleak.
Yeah. Just the way that rich people purge was like just abduct people off the streets, and it was kind of a most dangerous game sort of vibe to it.
Totally hard target. Rudyard Kipling. I mentioned Running Man earlier, but I don't think you get that like until the second one, where they happen to be videotaping all their murders and genocide for cable TV to watch the next day, and you're like, jeez, how would that happen in today's world? And how many sick fuckers would watch that?
Yeah.
So fun fact, Ethan Hawke does return as James in the opening scene of season 2 of the Purge show.
Oh, okay. Really?
And I didn't make it to season 2. I think I watched season 1 and then I kind of didn't get back around to it. But
Billy
that's
Baldwin
cool.
being really diabolical. But yeah, it was heavily promoted. I'm like, I better catch up on this. And it's okay. Just getting that out of the way. I think it's a decent like 2.5 to 3 out of 5. Just fun show. It just needed a little more time to kind of flesh it out. And it could have easily been a 5-year thing. It's just Universal was just canceling all their shit that year, and it was just
right.
They had a Jason Bourne spinoff and the same thing. I'm like, why do you guys keep killing your franchises?
No, nowadays it's like it'll break your heart to get too invested in a TV series. It's like,
and now I see people complain about 10-episode things. I'm like, it feels more like a movie, but they're like, oh, I want more. I'm like, well, that's a good thing. You wouldn't watch it if it was 20 episodes, would you? Why not? So yeah, no. Who wants to do their ranking first on a 5-star scale?
I'll go first because mine's actually really simple.
Okay, we love that simple.
It's because I watching these, it was like, no, I mean it's solid, and there's like a little fluctuation here and there, but pretty much across the board, good movies that I enjoy. I gave The Purge 3 stars, which for me is I like it. So The Purge Anarchy 3.5.
Lovely.
Same for The Purge Election Year. Same for the first Purge. And then the Forever Purge, I went back to 3 stars.
Oh,
good.
So do you use a 4 or 5 stars?
3 out of 5.
5.
5.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I love horror movies, and I really enjoy this as a franchise. So I'd probably also give I would give the original Purge 3.5 stars, Anarchy 4.5, Election Year down to 3.5. Cool concepts, but I thought there were moments when bits of the acting were a little porn level.
They did I know what you mean. It did kind of.
There were some rough moments, and like, I don't know, but like there were just certain scenes where the acting just hit really wrong when I watched it, and especially when I watched it in the theater, where I was like, ooh, that just seems a little painful. But I mean, some still solid enough. It's not
that's a good
horrible.
point. I did seem like they were trying to portray pain, but at times I'm like, I feel like a lot of movies now shoot so fast they only do a few takes. So I don't know.
Yeah. And then let's see, the movie 4, the first Purge, I'd probably go with 4 stars for that.
Good.
I thought it was solid, even though that too had a few scenes with some awkward acting where I was like, or maybe it just could have been edited better for certain characters. But I thought, oh man, that's a little cheesy.
Yeah, we've just seen too many movies, so half the time we'll hear dialogue. We're like,
right,
I could have written that.
yeah, exactly. And I feel like the Forever Purge was a really solid film. I would rank that, score that the same as Anarchy with 4.5 stars.
Lovely.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, I'm pretty straightforward. I gave the first one a 3 out of 5. Just it was I want to say the third one I saw. I didn't watch any of these in order. I thought, okay, I like how they're having to do a knife fight in the dark, and the music gets you in the mood for some kind of atmospheric, and especially near the end when he's got him at shotgun level, he's like, start talking. Why are you breaking into my fucking shit? Why are you breaking into my house? Movie 2 made me a fan of Kylie Sanchez and Frank Grillo for life. I watch anything those guys are in. Kylie's gone on to do a lot of TV, including a show with Frank, and Frank's a martial artist and has worked with all kinds of people. He's done everything from playing crooked cops to business owners.
He's great.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really good.
He's in a Charles Manson, I think, cult film now. Check it out.
Interesting.
Ooh.
He just actually wrapped a action horror film kind of similar to this with director and writer Chad Law. So it's got an all-star cast, including Dermot Mulroney and Mekhi Phifer. Purge Anarchy, that was the first one I saw, and just as you're seeing the sun just evaporate as the countdown begins, I was glued to my screen. I was fortunate enough to interview Chris Gann, who plays the punk chopping people up on the BMX bike. He's an actor and stunt guy who's been in a lot of things, including Sleepy Hollow and 24, and he's now doing a lot of coordination. But yeah, I was invested. I liked how the Latino family was at war, and they were letting all their sinister secrets out when they're all supposed to be banding together. I thought there was enough at stake. Movie free election year, like you guys said, it's a little on the nose, but I liked that they brought the stranger and the sergeant back. And like you say, I feel like the candidate's kind of weak, but in all fairness, I didn't need to see any more of his sliminess. I already know he's awful. You know, right. First Purge, so that was a 3.5 out of 5. I'd give the first Purge probably a 3 out of 5. I like it more just as a Sunday movie. And I do like this whole all minority cast, and always love seeing Luna Velez from Oz fame in a role. But like you kind of said, there was some kind of forced dialogue there at times. And I think one critic said it's entertaining, but it's a little more ambitious than it wants to be. And I was like, yeah, it's fair. They're not perfect movies, but they are entertaining genre movies. So it's like, okay, yeah, I'll give this 3 out of 5. And the last one, the Forever Purge, I'm going to give that 4 out of 5. I was on the edge of my seat. Yes, some of the dialogue was kind of whatever, but I just dug how the main Texas rancher is having to question his racism. I dug how all
that was cool.
The ranch hands are the heroes. That scene where what's her name from who's been in everything, Army of the Dead, Nacho Libre, is having to avoid getting almost guillotined by these assholes on the street. I was just like, yee, that was edgy. And I thought it was wrapped up. Fun fact, I showed this to my friends at the Bad Movies Roll podcast. They give out sarcastic awards, and one of them is the Will Patton Award for Intensity. I'm like, can you add this to the reel? His final moments before he's shot in the head, like, you won't take me down. Like, you got to put that on the reel. I don't think it can go wrong from here. I don't feel like it's lowbrow. Fun fact, my brother's fiance took him to this, and he was not a fan, but she really liked it. So that is often my indicator. If my brother hates it, I'm going to like it.
Nice.
Usually, me and my sister get along. Yeah, we're like, okay, there's 5 writers. Yeah, this is going to be bad. Other times we're like, okay, it's a dumb movie with so and so. Let's have fun. But yeah.
Yeah, if anyone were to come to me and say, I just can't with the Purge movies, okay. Like, I can understand why. It could be the politics, or it could be, people who aren't into that, like, really kind of like over the top, lots of action.
Yeah.
Then yeah, this probably isn't going to be for you. If people who don't like dystopia.
Yeah,
that could be difficult.
I got into an argument with some other guy, like half the movies he was naming off were technically horror or sci-fi. I'm like, okay, we're going to talk later. Horsemen run. But I could see,
Like,
I mean,
this
if you
isn't going to
wanna
work for
label-
everybody, but
I mean, it's like if you came to a comedy and you thought it was just going to be crude and everything. It's like, well, I think you've seen too many bad examples of the franchise
right. Yeah, I
or
think
genre.
definitely the Purge franchise, you've got to give it first for the boldness.
Yes. At least
In
see part
terms of
2.
the themes, the characters, just the way they approach this. It takes courage
Yeah.
and conviction to keep going after, because how many franchises kind of start with an idea that might be a little more edgy,
Yes.
and then over the course of a franchise get closer and closer to like a more watered down, mainstream friendly idea.
Yep.
Purge franchise has not done that. It's still
True.
just as possibly incendiary or offensive
Yes.
to some people as it ever was. I think that's commendable.
Right.
Great action sequences. It
Yeah.
always looks good.
Yeah. You can actually see what's happening in the dark. It's not put together by
Yes.
hackneyed people who don't know how to shoot it. But I mean, kudos to Elizabeth Mitchell and Kyle Segar. They're very on the nose, but I don't feel like they're doing an impression of Hillary or even Mike Pence. I think they're just doing okay, here's a gal. She has progressive ideas, and all these Nazis are targeting her. And here's this guy. He's a blabbermouth, but he's just a twisted scumbag in general. Like, he's just blah, blah, blah. If you don't like me, you're stupid. Meh, vote for me. So I was like, okay, cool. But I liked how they explained it more on Congress, and McKelty Williamson is always a joy to watch. So I was like, okay, cool.
I enjoy how they kind of bring in the global perspective on this, or
Yes.
how people from other countries
How are people
look
in
at
China doing this?
murder tourists.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
And that would
Another
for
reason
sure
to not come to
happen.
America,
It would
yeah.
absolutely
It would.
happen. Right?
Well, the last one did a good job of just showing the immigrants, who, I'm so sad. And every time I have to tell a friend, it's like, you guys are being called rapists and everything just because of the color of your skin, or because someone is doing their fear mongering propaganda and racism.
Yeah. I
And
love we had characters like Marcos in
yes.
Anarchy, who, when his boss at the deli finds out he can shoot, he's like, how'd you learn that? And he's like, every night in Juarez.
Yeah.
So true.
There's places in the world where street warfare and
That's
unrest
right. Yep.
is like a regular occurrence.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's ready to go for an automatic weapon if he gets robbed, but you never hope for that day,
No.
I mean, I do security and I get puns galore. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're dangerous job." I'm like,
Nice.
not even. I'm just literally, think of it as Uber. You drive around, you take photos, you report issues. It's not the movies where you're the first part of the body count. But no, that's true. I do like Marcos. He was an interesting portrayal. I don't feel like anyone's a stereotype, which is also very rare. Because I was waiting for it. I was waiting for one guy to go USA. I'm like, oh Lord, don't do that. I didn't see any of them, but you can tell me otherwise. There might be some stereotype in there that
they did really well, I thought. Of characters are where it comes into play that they might have a past, like Joe the deli owner has a past affiliation with the Crips street gang.
That was true. Yeah.
In the Forever Purge, Adela was part of the autodefensas in Mexico. Like, people have a past. Yes. It's complicated. It's never too stereotypical. There's a lot of kind of nuance to each character, what their thoughts are, their motivations, where they come from, how they relate to it.
Yes. Because you don't know till you know, and most of the time it's too late. But I like how half of these guys get caught in the act. They're like, "Oh, can we still be friends?" And he just got that. Like, no, I'm moving out of this place, and I'm setting your house on fire once this is all done.
I love too how in the first Purge, like they go head on against this whole idea behind the Purge in the first place, that this healthy release of violence, and that, this is just human nature, and the Purge is this healthy thing, this release valve, this freeing violence.
Make America fun again.
and if there were people who saw the previous Purge movies who were like, they've got a point.
Yeah.
The first Purge tells us, like, the experiment was rigged.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most people didn't kill anybody.
They didn't even take advantage of this.
No, they wanted to have street parties and maybe have sex outside and
do some drugs and
right, and maybe rob a store, But most people didn't want to kill anybody.
For now. They should do one with AI.
Oh God.
We don't believe it's real. No, don't do that. That'd be too much.
Yeah, maybe not.
That'd give me claustrophobia for a week. So this made me a fan of rapper Snow of the Product. I'm gonna now be checking out the rest of her music. She's the in hip hop song in the last one.
Oh, okay.
What the fuck is the law? Good score. You did bring up the score a few times. I wasn't as familiar with the Newton brothers, but I heard them in a few things. They're kind of like Tom and Andy. They're just that sibling duo.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I think you guys have kind of summed up a lot of the main points. It's just like you got everybody is the guinea pig, and if it goes wrong, which it will, hence the premise, but no one wants to fess up to it. No one, there isn't a fall guy. They're either all dead or they're like, God, what did I do? And it is, I do like how they also hint is like, no one would technically be safe. You could have the best security, most politicized town, you have these bodyguards turning on each other. It's just like, I'll kill you for $1. I hated your guy.
There was I think it was in election year, or was it Anarchy? No, it must have been election year, when the character who's been going around in the triage van.
Oh yes.
When she comes back and she tells a story of she saw a woman who had murdered her husband and said, that didn't feel good like I thought it was going to.
Yeah, that was a fun moment. You're just like, Jesus. These freaks are coming out of the woodwork. They're thinking they're going to get off on killing. That makes a little sense because they do have hunters throughout, and I like how they don't glamorize them. They show that they would be just most likely to be killed first just because they got all the weaponry that all the other bastards are going to use. What's his name? Jack Conley, who played the evil Colonel in part 2. I thought this was an interesting, rare mainstream appearance for him. He's done everything. Look at his credits. He's almost always plays a crooked narc or a violent gambler, and I thought it was cool how he's just hovering over him. He's the big daddy guy with that disfigured face.
Oh yeah.
He recently starred in the similar Suburbicon, rather recently, but
he reminds me of the warden in Cool Hand Luke.
Oh my God, yes.
Because he's always got the shades on.
Yeah.
And he's like hardly ever speaks.
He thinks he's cool to do what he wants. No shame at all. No, just no soul beat in there. But he was as close as I think as you came to kind of a Roach and Day in the Dead kind of someone who's just gonna mouth off and like has nothing even intelligent to say in his final moments. He just but kudos to many of the guys for just framing all these characters, giving them a moment in the sun. The violent Stan and Karen in Forever Purge were pretty creepy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was my only real beef. I was like, I kind of wanted a little more screen time for them, but at the same time, it would have probably been too much. Because when you encounter so many just awful politicized people now every day, it's like, no. Still keep this fun, but do give them an awesome comeuppance. It's a wartime in the streets, and
Forever Purge had a lot to do because you had
Yes.
to like introduce all these characters, let us get to know them.
The
I
wives
love-
are now looking at their husband like, good Lord, I didn't know you
Yeah.
felt that way.
And then it
I'm
kept
pregnant,
like
so
the story just got bigger and bigger
yes.
because
Oh,
we
man.
finally see what it's like the cleanup after a purge night,
Oh my
Mhm.
God.
which was
Yes.
kind of cool to see that. And then the forever purge kicks off, and I was like, okay, so that's going to be the rest of the movie, right? Then it was like, no, now you need to cross the border into Mexico, and it was like, oh shit, like how like it was just the scope of it was
Yes.
so much
Mhm.
bigger. There's only so much you can do if you're trying to cover that much ground.
Because as they say earlier, blessed be America, a nation reborn. You're like, what? No.
No.
We
Apparently,
make things manageable. No.
I read that there's going to be a 6th Purge movie
Yes.
that picks
Yeah.
up where the Forever Purge left off. So I mean that I'm
They
excited.
might bring they might bring the sergeant back. They're open to that. Obviously, the stranger might come back. I love Edwin Hodge. Did you know
Yeah,
he
he's
and Aldous are brothers?
No.
I didn't know that either.
So they're Sam Jackson's nephews in Die Hard with a Vengeance, and then it all went from there.
Okay.
But I did have a pal JP who was doing catering, and he met Aldous at an event, and he's like, "You would never know he's a celebrity. He's just down to earth guy." And it's like, we need these kind of rarities, and I think that's the other kind of cool thing. These aren't relying on star power. Like even
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke took a pay cut. He was just like, "Hey, you'll make more on the side," because he's pretty notable for his like, I don't want to do superhero movies. I'm loyal. I need to do something besides just Linkletter all the time. And so he was friends with McCaffrey, and that's why they did that. But I'm a fan of Adeline Kane. I think she should get more stuff. She's unfortunately kind of only just done soap stuff outside of this. Nothing against soap, I'm just saying, but like it's the cheesy
Yeah.
CW kind where you're like, come on, you need more. There were a few other actors who played the various neighbors, and kudos to them because, again, they only get certain lines of dialogue, and they still have to just be menacing with the mask and everything.
Yeah.
I don't think
A lot
there
of
was much
faces that
CGI.
I recognize faces have now seen them elsewhere, but it's like that guy thing where I'm
That
like,
guy.
"God, where do I know you from? But I know you from somewhere."
Rest in peace, Michael K. Williams.
Yeah. Oh,
Omar's
that
coming.
anytime that man is on the screen, small screen or big screen,
Yep.
he was so amazing. And when he popped up, I was like, oh,
Motherfuck
miss
you,
you.
Purge.
so good. Perfect casting
Yes.
for that role.
I buy him as a Black Panther.
I loved it. Yeah.
There's actually been a lot of people who I've had to kind of unfriend because they kind of label every revolutionary as a terrorist, but yet they go to NRA conventions. So who's
Right.
the real terrorist?
Yes.
We're seeing it now, and again, politics are unavoidable, unfortunately. But I
Yes.
mean, we're seeing it with BLM. There's many times where I'm like, this is a Blue Lives Matter neighborhood. I want to avoid this place already.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, not many people want to have a conversation because it's so unpleasant. But at the same time, they don't have a resolution. So we're gonna just have to keep having these conversations in entertainment.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
keep watching
that's
Purge
true.
movies.
Keep watching Purge.
It's actually like
It's not lowbrow.
So no, some people can watch these and just watch it for the action, the dystopia, the survival, and that's
Gore.
great.
Yeah.
Have at it. It's all there.
Mhm.
But you could have some really interesting conversations with people spurred on by the ideas in these movies.
Totally.
And
Because like
I
the
love
sci-fi
that.
is just in that it's dystopia, as opposed to we got to have a famous actor spouting out science.
Mhm.
It's and keep giving them inspiration. They really can't go wrong. I don't think they're gonna offend anybody. I mean, we've already talked about how they're pretty inoffensive. Like the only people getting grossed out by them are the ones who just, I don't know, thought it would just be too morbid. I don't know.
Yeah, even my mom, I actually liked these movies, and she normally doesn't like horror films.
Yeah, I had some luck with my mother as well. She wasn't crazy about it, but she thought the acting and premise was intriguing.
Yeah. I think my mom liked it mostly for the premise and like the political commentary.
Yes. Wasn't there a parody on Key and Peele?
Yeah, possibly. I don't remember.
We'll be playing the Robot Chicken spoof at the beginning of this episode. King of the Purge. Burns up the cafe.
I know Rick and Morty did a Purge.
Of course they did. Was Morty the one doing the Purge?
Well, they visit another planet where it looks like, the aliens there look like sort of like cat people, but it's a Purge planet, so it's like everyone on there, that alien society has a Purge night.
They should do another take on it and have it be Rick getting burned alive, since they fired they had issues with the actor being behind the scenes. He was really much like the character he was playing.
I've heard about that.
I mean,
and that's how you know you've hit on something, right? When,
I got it.
When you've got cartoon shows, parodies.
I got it. The Purge, Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
All the Weinstein's whole, type assholes who haven't been outed yet. And they just get slaughtered at. It would be like Record Free kind of did something like that, where someone's playing around with a chainsaw at what's supposed to be a wedding gala, and it's all down here from here. But that would be just hysterical. People are getting shot out of executive buildings. Will you buy my movie? You didn't buy my movie. Frank Grillo was actually in an interview recently where he talked about how he was tricked into doing some of those shitty movies by that Randall Emmett and his partner Furla, that they're part of the whole. They had some legit stuff like Street Kings and Lone Survivor and The Irishman, but then they started tricking Bruce Willis, De Niro, Morgan Freeman, and all these guys into doing awful movies for him. And Grillo's looking at it. He looks back at the movie. He doesn't say anything until 5 years later. He's like, "It's a Ponzi scheme. It's a Ponzi scheme. Thank God I'm not doing the movie anymore." But they tricked everybody because they're all Wall Street producers who call themselves producers, but they're really not.
Ouch. Yeah.
And it's a shame too, because you want all these indie guys to kind of get some skin in the game, but you're like, it's gotta suck to have to do extra homework to make sure you're not at amateur hour. And so it would be fun if they did a commentary on that. Which are the Get Shorty type movie producers who are always threatening people, and then
that would be interesting. Or I guess everyone knows what Purge Night is, so you wouldn't actually
you wouldn't have to explain it. Yeah.
But like at a film, like one of the big film festivals, like Purge Night hits on Sundance. You know what I mean?
Oh man, he doesn't take so and so doesn't take the Cannes reception too well.
Yeah, right.
Can you imagine Coppola losing it one day and saying, "You know what? Say hello to my little friend." The Poma gave me some ideas. You don't like it? I don't like you. As they could do Russia, that'd be fun. Maybe a little too close, too much.
Yeah.
As long as Steven Seagal gets killed, that'd be okay.
Oh God.
Oh man.
Only good thing that came out of it. Oh.
Making this an anthology was very smart.
Yeah. I mean,
because you could, in theory, make endless Purge movies.
Yep. Twilight Zone edition. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many different cities, different settings, whatever the current political issue, hot button issue is.
Yes.
You could, in theory, do this indefinitely. So many different ways.
Absolutely. I can't say that better. That's
right.
If they want to get some name talent, I think Brad Anderson might be able to help out with it. He seems to kind of be into that. I don't know if you know Session 9 or...
I love Session 9.
So fun.
Yeah.
But he kind of for a while was doing those movies. They weren't exactly found footage, but they were just showing like disturbing revelations, and just get anybody. I mean, kudos to McCaffrey for not having to do everything himself and just saying, "Hey, I'm just gonna work with other people, give them a moment in the sun. It's as much their movie as it is mine." So it's like I definitely want more comrades, because I'm just getting so tired of this like Hollywood Reporter doing the whole so and so's at the helm. This could be good, it could be bad. I'm like, it's not just one person.
Right.
You can have a bad gaffer and your movie's wrecked, you know?
Yeah, no, it takes a whole team of people.
if you
to make
you
it
can have
what
a
it
great
is.
editor, but if they get fired by the greedy producer, you don't have a chance in hell. Oh, and yeah, no, I'm sure they'll come up with something fun. They'll do a throwback.
I'll watch it, whatever they come up with next.
I mean, kudos to the
Yeah,
show
same.
itself. It was a whole different cast that next season. They went from evil tycoon Billy Baldwin to someone else, and
Mhm.
who doesn't? It's not much to ask for just some fun B movie carnage.
I
But
always
at the
want more
same
of that.
time, it's more than that.
Yeah. That's the cool thing, right? It's that it's all of those things.
If they want to have it even go into dorm and serial killers stalking people, I think they'll still do a fun twist on it. But I think that's the other thing too. It's not really even reliant on just one twist. Like there's so many other factors in there. It's like, did you see how
Yeah.
that guy is looking at this person? You don't put two and two together unless you rewatch it. It's not an it's not an M. Night movie where it starts out okay and then you have the divisive ending, which
Right. Yeah, some of his have been
yeah.
rough the last several years.
I just need more Mr. Glass. I don't need she left a village and then died? What? No.
Yeah, the movie Old About killed me. Like
I
I
haven't seen
felt
it yet.
old after watching that. Oh my gosh.
I know they did a rip tracks on it.
Like I aged. I felt like I aged like
You
8 years
aged.
within like the however many hours long runtime that was.
Oh Jesus.
It felt a lot longer. It's like this is like I
It
don't
did
know,
feel long.
Speaking of age and retirement, they should do a Cuckoo's Nest one.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
All the retire guys fight back at the guys mistreating them. I'll show you
No,
what
that could
for,
be
Mr.
really
Ratchet.
I
I'll
like
give you a
it.
swirly. You can eat the contaminated food. Nah, that might be too much, but I don't know. I'll let them do whatever. Oh, well, it's a shame we didn't get as many, but that's okay. On time or on schedule. This will come out in the fall, post Halloween.
Nice.
Okay. Cool.
So great to finally get you on here, Carmelita. I know
No,
we were
happy
talking
to
back
be
and
here.
forth. We're gonna try and do more filmmaker and actor showcases. We've been doing more kind of retro stuff, everything from I Love Lucy to Outer Limits, and it's just been kind of
Oh, nice.
well, and just even more so, just like I'm just so blessed to just always have just like so many recurring guests on, and we kind of go more into why did this work back then and what's a factor you can't overlook now instead of just the
Sure.
nonstop. Because obviously there's going to be some problematic elements. Is like it only could exist in like the 60s or 70s, but then you want to go above just what you could just easily read on Wikipedia. It's like, okay, what does this illustrate to you, and why did you watch it on TV Land back in the day?
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't just that it was on. The sitcom ones have been fun. We did do a Norman Laird tribute, and that's another one. It's like, okay, hold on. If you don't like him, which part? Like, there's so many factors.
Yeah. Elaborate.
He did a cartoon show for back in the day, which was talking about antenna channels. So I'd hardly say he's only. But then again, there are people who only like him because they love how despicable the Archie Bunker character is, and that illustrates them. And
Sure.
you're like, okay, good job on misinterpreting the whole point. He's a Karen. You're supposed to hate him. He's reminding you of that uncle you don't invite to Thanksgiving. It's just
True.
you're trying to work on him. It's not like the Purge where he'll be dead this season. Heart attack. But I mean, I just like all these movies that just talk about just stuff that's not easy to talk about, but also illustrate what really is wrong nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
If the people you're electing are doing awful things, if you got neighbors who are reading into certain things awfully, it's just like, again, the day is young.
and I feel like films from like films in the 70s were a little less afraid.
Yes.
you know, to
Go
get
straight to antenna channels if they weren't appreciated.
yeah, to just get political, make a statement about something, even if it was dark, even if it was gonna downbeat. And yeah, it comes and goes, you know.
Have you ever listened to Doing the Nasty, hosted by Duncan McLeish?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, he reviews movies that are on the video nasty list.
Oh, nice.
And more often than not, it was just the poster sent shivers up someone's spine. You're like,
Yeah.
not even a drop of gore in this movie
Oh,
anywhere.
yeah, some of those movies were actually just shockingly bland, and it's like, yeah,
Right?
definitely got banned for the cover
power of
the
marketing.
poster.
Yes. Even by Italian standards, surprisingly, it's just like, there was one guy who was a creep, but there wasn't any. Yeah, someone just maybe saw scissors on the cover and thought, "Oh, you can't watch that." And hopefully, I mean, the internet's allowing less gatekeeping now. You know. Well, what's even direct to video anymore? You know, go straight to the internet.
Yeah, like what does that even mean now? It's kind
not
of
on a
meaningless.
video store or
Direct
TV
to
anymore.
streaming, I guess. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
We'll return after these messages.
If you like small town mystery, crazy news, and wild history, then the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast is for you. Each week, Josh Mills and Wayne McCarty bring you the absolute best Florida has to offer. So if you're looking for a show that's safe for the family, but funny enough to help you escape everyday life, then listen to the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast. That's Florida Men, plural, on Florida Man podcast.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, "Give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win." On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and booty debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
The Jacked Up Review Show podcast is honored to be part of the Blind Knowledge Podcast Network. Join anytime, talk the talk, and enjoy yourselves. There's something enlightening for everyone with this crowd of cool cats. Check them out.
This burger's terrible! Yeah, 'cause I shit in the meat. King of the Purge!
You don't lose, really. You just say,
No.
hey, I would have not seen that in the theater, but it was a fun 2 a.m. movie. And other times you're like, cheaply shot in Atlanta, awful Louisiana movie. I hope they got paid, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the interesting thing about especially some of the platforms that do their originals. And so there's a mix. So there's like a mix of their originals that they're
To be
putting
fan for
out.
life.
Or, you know, just all these different, there's just like a whole slew. I mean, there's just so many choices.
Too many.
Probably
good
too
and a bad
many. It's a good and a bad thing. It is.
Yeah.
I watch a double feature almost every night.
Really? Look at you.
Okay.
I watch a lot of movies. I watch
Awesome.
a lot of movies,
Nice.
a ridiculous
Nice.
amount. So more choices in that scenario is in some ways really good because I
There you
can
go.
I have access to films that, you know,
You can wait for the
15,
hype
20
to
years
die
ago
down, and
would have
then-
been really difficult to get a hold of. Tubi is great
Yes.
for that. Movies that, I mean, where did that go? I don't know,
Yeah.
but here it is on Tubi. But it also makes decision making that analysis paralysis. There's so many
Yes.
things like what you could scroll for an hour sometimes, and you're just like, I still haven't decided on something.
Bingo.
No.
You didn't get it 20 years ago at Blockbuster, but here you are now.
Yeah.
Check this out. And if it's bad, I only spent, I didn't have to feel the dread of ejecting the disc or
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, you felt more committed when you went
Yes.
all the way to the video store,
Bingo.
got the rental, brought it home, and then to start it and just stop it was a lot harder to justify because you're just like, man, I went to all this trouble. I might as well just watch the damn thing.
I might as well buy it. I've had it too long. I think people are coming around a little, not all, but it's just, even when it's a bad movie night, you just like, I need that time back, don't watch it. But now I think we're now the morbidly curious. You're like, I kind of like this, but I would have hated it back in the day, I don't know.
I mean,
if it's
there have been
absurdism.
times. There have been times where I'm 15 minutes into something and I'm like, nah.
I've been that way too, where it's like I just cannot justify sitting through something that's either this bad or this boring or whatever. And
why there's static camera angles? Do something.
But I guess if I go to the movie theater, I'm not walking out of the theater even if it's something terrible. But if it's just something on streaming, I'm like, no, I'm not sitting through this.
I opted to do it once of my own accord.
I wanted to do it with some apocalyptic movie once upon a time, but I couldn't because my uncle had driven me there, so there was no escaping.
No, this was like a whole thing. A friend and I, we were visiting, we were out of town. We had taken the train. I was living in California at the time. We had taken the train. We get off in Sacramento and we can't get a hold of anybody to come pick us up at the train station. We don't even know if they're going to be home. And this was like college, like late teens, early 20s, like college age, out of high school. And so it's like they could be working. I have no idea where these people are, but it's 90 degrees in the summer in Sacramento, California. And let's just go to the movies because at least there's air conditioning. And then after the movie, we can call somebody. Maybe they'll be home and pick up by then. The movie was so bad. I don't even remember. It was one of those guys from American Pie was the lead.
One of those crude comedies where you're like, stupid.
I'm pretty sure stupid was in the title. I might be wrong. We walked out. I was like, I don't even care. I don't care if you die of sunstroke. I'm not sitting through this.
I think you're onto something because like while my uncle doesn't do too much intense movies, he might do something like a Planet of the Apes type movie, but he does recall walking out and it was just a bad comedy. It was one of those, he wasn't in the right mindset. He can't even tell you what it was. It was like mid-90s back when he went often. And he's like, I don't know if I don't get it or if I'm too stupid to understand it or if it's incompetent, but I've had 2 martinis. I'm going home.
I'm done. Yeah.
And so I do think comedies test our patience. And trust me, my brother wanted to see every awful Adam Sandler movie back in the day. I'm like, no. Keep hurting,
Comedy is it's like that definitely is very subjective. Not everything is funny to everyone. Well, different types of humor,
I love how these comedians have also changed how we look at them. We see people like Richard Belzer, Sarah Silverman, I think Louis Anderson recently, it's like, I had no idea. Where the hell did that acting performance come from? And why are you so good at it? And I hope you didn't have to go to all the depths of your personal pain just for that one Oscar nominee. Marilyn Rajskub, she's won, and no one knew her outside of Mr. Show and 24 and Larry Saunders, and you're like, oh, there's a reason she does drama so well. She's been described as a female Andy Kaufman type, so I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I hope these movies just keep being marketed better. Like, I think whatever inevitable sequel comes out, it'll kill at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
People are going to go, that looks awful. Let's see it. And there's going to be others who go, it looks badass. Let me call my wife. Let me call my coworker. Let's go. So it is in a way, they're kind of rowdy movies. They kind of just get you pumped. Like you're working out.
This is true.
I don't know why. Because it's not really testosterone driven, if that makes sense. They're kind of more,
but it's kinetic. It's kinetic because there's this race to get to that purge siren at the end, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
and
moving.
Kudos to them. They did change up the siren after a while. Sometimes they showed a timer once in a while, and you're like, "Oh fuck!"
Right? Yeah.
We're gonna get done in 20 minutes. You don't have time to kill more people.
Yeah, there's something about movies where people are on the clock.
They didn't mess with car cliches as much either. Like there wasn't as much of the whole, my phone battery's dying or I lost my car keys. It was pretty much, what can I find? I guess fuck it, we're gonna just run. while the house we were just in gets set on fire.
I love too that like they show people of different not environmental, but like what is that called? Awareness.
Backgrounds.
It's like street smarts.
Street smarts, yeah.
It's like the situational awareness. Situational awareness.
Black market guy.
Like some people in a situation just they don't think like defensively.
Yes.
And other people do for different reasons, a person's life experience that they might think that way, or other people don't. And that's one of the cool things in these movies, to see how different people approach staying alive.
You are correct. I get this with my security job all the time. I was training someone. We're going inside the Quick Trip just to, get some candy bars or whatever. He's like, "You're going to leave the car running?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." He's like, "Oh, there's some homeless out." I'm like, "And?" I'm not going to do anything. But he's clearly fearmonger. He's like, can you take the keys in with you? I'm like, "Go inside, get your Happy Meal, and come back out." Tell me I did my job. Would you do this if the boss was here? Yes. But his sorry ass isn't going to be down here. But I think it's true. I see so many people. They dread about so many things. It's like, I'm worried about just getting stuff done ahead of time. I see so many other people, they get riled up. Did you see the way that person looked at you? I'm like, yeah. Who cares?
See, I'm totally paranoid. I step into somewhere.
You're right to be. It's okay.
And I'm looking at like, where are my exits? And I'm like, peripheral vision, what's happening? I grew up in a really rough, my hometown was a really rough place.
And you're right.
So you get used to always being really hyper aware.
My pal was in an inner city, and he's a martial artist and everything, but he would set, I kid you not, death traps on the locks to his car. I'm like, I don't know how you haven't lost a hand doing that.
Wow.
And sure enough, he'd come in here, he'd lost track of how many times he would be coming out to his car and he'd hear a, "Oh," and you'd see blood on the floor. I'm like, Jesus.
Wow.
I'm just glad he's out of that awful inner city now, but whatever apartment complex he was in. So I think there is that, but to your credit, you've survived.
I have. I'm here.
But it's okay to be street smart. Like I feel like I'm going to be put in a situation where I'm going to be put on the spot. I will definitely avoid those scenarios. It's like, okay, this is the person, they're at this corner, they're going to be begging for monies for drugs. Okay, I'm going to take this U-turn here. I don't want to.
Well, it's all about balance, right? Like to be completely oblivious, you put yourself.
I think there's many oblivious to anything. I see many who, we were talking.
It happens.
We were talking about January 6th deniers at the start.
God, yeah.
To be too paranoid is also not good for your health.
I still see people who. Well, no, true. I see people who will still have one of those douchey shirts that says "so and so took my job." I'm like, oh Lord, who took
so
your
annoying?
Job? Someone you hate? Sure. Do you want to work it anyway? No. It's like we were talking about politicization. There's many things that will be politicized, and more than half the time they're by the person who doesn't like to politicize stuff. It's like, well, you lit the fire. So I've been fortunate enough with many of these chats to not have to kick out many people. I think I only kicked out like one person who was just like trolling. And again, he didn't seem that way. We did have an amusing Star Trek one, and that was funny. Like he was deliberately trolling. He's like, if it doesn't have a creature or weird mystery, it sucks. I'm like, well, then you're not gonna like most of this. That's every 5 episodes.
Yeah, you're not gonna have much to say then.
There's no monsters in any of these movies unless you count the space zombies. So yeah, sorry. But yeah, and I don't know. I think a lot of people just they want a flame war, and it's like it's okay.
Sure.
I'm in no rush to watch anything that's out now. I'll wait, but I make sure I just turn the lights off and watch the movie. Often when I have my phone out, I'm taking note. That's the other thing that drives people crazy. And I was like, well, I'm not playing Candy Crush, but at the same time, if they request, if I'm with a bunch of other people and there's intense intention needed for something, it's like, yeah, okay, screen's off. But I don't know. As long as you're not doing that in the theater itself. I'm like,
right.
Oh yeah. Yeah, please no.
Babysitters ringing. But then I'll still see people, they won't look at the rating. I'm like, why did you think taking the 5-year-old to Saw or Terminator or whatever was a good idea? What did you think was going to happen? I don't know. I without Phil, like I have a relative.
I've seen that too. I've seen that happen. It's just like, what are you doing?
I have yet to see anyone walk out of a Purge movie. I think they know what they're in for. Like it or don't like it, they're gonna sit the whole outing and just to say they saw it. It reminds them of some 70s disaster or freaky movie. And they're definitely decent date movies, I'm sure. But I mean, I kid you not, I had a relative who, despite the giant poster with the R rating, despite the trailer, she kept taking her mother, who's already deaf, who she shouldn't be taking movies to in the first place, to rude comedies. I'm like, well, she's not going to understand it, and you're probably going to be offended because this person's risque, you know. So they made sure they earned the R rating. So I mean, I feel like people still like to be offended. I'm like, if it's rated R, there's no reason to be offended. You know what you're in for.
Right.
True.
But what
there's like there's like a baseline idea.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess. The reason it got that rating for a reason, and it wasn't just 5 F-bombs, you know. Half the time though, I mean, I'd be okay with a PG-15, I guess, if that solves the problem. But half the time the rating, the way
I don't think that would
be
really
too much
solve the problem. No.
Because it seems like half the time they'll just rate something and they have to dispute how many frames are in the
right,
which also makes you wonder if they're just trying to censor the person or if it's just politics. I don't know.
I think it's very arbitrary sometimes.
It's very arbitrary.
Yeah. Well, and you know, here in the US, which I mean, I'm very actually apropos of a discussion about the Purge, because there's not a lot of sex in the Purge. There's a whole lot of violence, but not a lot of sex.
Right.
Yeah, this is the thing in American cinema. Like something.
Why is that? Why is it
like
that
some things are ultra violent, and it's only an R.
But we're gonna give you an X if we see full frontal.
Exactly. So
it doesn't matter the context. We're gonna give it to you anyway.
Yeah.
But yet
So who
I can
decides
what's
obscene or
and yet the
too
cable,
adult?
Even the cable TV stuff has borderline X rates, violence and sex, and they don't have to. FCC picks its battles too, but I don't even know why it exists anymore since no one really complains anymore. I don't know. I really don't. I think a lot of people sleep at the wheel when they're watching movies, but that also makes you wonder, why are you watching these movies when these require a brain? Not going to be mindless. Not everything. But I like these points because if I have to literally know someone on the committee just to get my movie rated a certain way, I'm just like,
right.
And then it becomes politicized in the tabloids, and everyone goes, "Oh, so and so fought for this rating." It's like they just wanted the freedom to make what they wanted to make instead of be a yes man. But kudos to all these filmmakers who are coming right out the back and trying to avoid having douchey producers kill their career. I feel sorry for Dakota Johnson and all those people who were tricked into doing Madam Web.
Oh, yeah.
Their agent, I wasn't going to see that awful movie anyway, but their agent said, "Oh, this is part of the MCU." It's not. It's just Sony making money with the license. And then they're trying to kill the female director's career. And good on her for just saying, "I had zero involvement in this movie." I'm like, you go, girl. Because we've seen those other guys who do a bad movie that got taken away from them, but they haven't improved since, and that's kind of always their excuse. So you don't really care.
Yeah.
That's how Josh Trank was, who did some of the movies McCaffrey worked on, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Still got some movies that need some serious work, but then there's some other ones where it's like Albert Pion, who did those apocalyptic cyborg movies.
Oh yeah, I've seen several of those.
Yeah, because Andrew Devoff's in one of them.
Yeah, that's true.
Rutger Hauer, and but he was one of those. Just leave him to his devices. He'll get your money back. And these apocalyptic movies, but sometimes he would tell all different kinds of stories, and you're like, I don't know what to make of that, but entertaining B movie.
Definitely.
You had imagination. I don't even know where you do find imagination, because it does seem like a lot of people just want to still movie scenes, and you don't know how much of it is it's a forced homage versus they meant it to be this way, but someone re-edited it to capitalize on another movie. I don't know. Just read some poetry. Hell. Inspired. If they made a comic book or a book series of the Purge, I'd buy it.
Same.
Yeah, it would work really well for that.
And yes, like we've said before, there's going to be people misinterpreting it, like the Punisher and all that
course.
stuff, and you'll be like, Jesus, dude.
Oh, gee, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there can't be fear around how are people going to interpret this because it's out of your hands once you put it out there.
Yep.
Make your art, tell your story, come at it from your perspective, do what you want to do. Regardless of what you do, someone's going to interpret it with their own perspective, their own bias, their own lens. Like,
yes,
can't have fear about that.
Do an amusing commentary. No one seems to do this as much. They'll have like 5 special features. I'm like, I want to hear your amusing commentary. Can you give me a Roger Corman-ish commentary where you're making fun of how out of focus the camera is in this shot, or amusing behind the scenes tips at the opening premiere, or something? Just something that puts IMDb to shame.
Nice.
Keep using your fellow actors. They don't have to be awful people like Tom Cruise. And hopefully, I mean, kudos to this, because like there's some semi-known stars, again, like we talked about, but there wasn't many who, if one of them were to be canceled the next day, they wouldn't impact the movie.
Yeah.
Because it's the premise, that's the start.
And you get these ensemble casts.
Yeah.
So even if someone is a little bit of more of a household name than some of the rest of the cast, they're one small piece of this mosaic of violence and survival, right? So
Bingo.
It's not going to end the movie.
Yep. It's not going to kill it. No pun. They might get referenced in the next one. Hey, that guy we fired. See what we did there. I know they did that with The Expanse, which Elizabeth Mitchell is in. They had the Texan Middle Eastern guy, not Amos, one of the other guys. He apparently was a terrible person behind the scenes, but he wasn't in many scenes, so the harassment didn't happen on set, but the word got back, and so they're like, well, we're going to kill him off anyway, so this works for everybody.
Wow.
I wasn't aware of the off-screen shenanigans.
Me neither. I thought it was just
bad behavior.
And the book fans were okay with it too, because the character survives. They're like,
So when he died, I was like,
to the book.
Oh, okay. And then I heard, I was like, oh, okay.
I'm glad.
That's what happened.
And the amusing part is the motherfucker hung himself also.
Oh, wow.
Like he started attacking his fans. I'm like, okay. So even if we didn't have the Me Too accusation, I would still avoid you at a convention. Maybe even someone might actually slug you and no one would bat an eye because being a pig. Erica and I've had those before. Have you ever had that, Carmelita, where someone's being over the top at a convention and you're like, I'm just waiting for this person to leave the room?
Yeah.
There's zero reason to be rude here. Everybody likes.
That's unnecessary.
And I've had to avoid some of the Texas Frightmare ones recently because it's just VIP. Because it's just VIP lines. I'm like, I want to actually speak to the person instead of being in line for an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to actually interact.
Place is crazy.
The last one I was there in 2018. Kevin Yeager was there, and he was actually embracing the Hellraiser 4 fan and doing Tales from the Crypt.
Nice
autographs and everything. But then next thing you know, I see there's the Sons of Anarchy guys there. But then I passed by one hall and Ron Perlman's talking. Like, I didn't see him anywhere on the ballot. Is he a surprise guest? Is everyone allowed to go in there? Because that's the other thing too. Is like some places were, looking for ticket proof, and other people are just coming on in. I'm like, so I don't want to get in trouble. And is this a free for all? Is anyone allowed to go into this room? Probably not. What's the point of even being in the room? His voice is bellowing so loudly down the hall. I'm like, I can hear it just down the hall.
Yeah, just take a nice little seat
and
in the hallway.
Just like eBay, just put a price on it. It's like, I'm willing to spend $30 on this person, 50 on this person. Varies on the rest,
Yeah. And it adds up.
Are they selling an exclusive like photo diary book for an upcoming movie? Is there a premiere of their new slasher or drama film there? What's going on? So that is what I do like about some of those conventions. They do actually premiere some of these indie films there. So I'm like, okay, cool. Because that's not going to be at cons.
Cool. Yeah.
I did see the Robert Bronzy guy who is based his whole career off doing impressions of Charles Bronson.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if his acting has gotten better, but he seems like a nice guy. So I'm only giving the benefit of the doubt.
Well, I love Charles Bronson. He clearly loves Charles Bronson.
Yeah.
My hat's off to you, sir.
Yeah.
You got good taste.
Well, and fortunately, a lot of those B movie guys have also, who were being unprofessional, have kind of left the industry. So that's good.
Yeah.
I like how unit production managers and first ADs will report stuff. It won't be something like Rust, where it's a movie that it'll come out, but it's forever damned by the off-screen behavior. And you're just like, Jesus, you had all these warning signs, guys. I like how there's intimacy coordinators. I like how someone will actually just rewrite the movie now. Like the writers will actually be on the set instead of be like, you figure it out. It's so obvious. I'm like, well, clearly not. Rewrite it a bit. Like we just lost Robert Town. That dude was like the king script doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Rewrote the Dawn speech in The Godfather, did plenty of other biker and war movies and Roger Corman slashers there. And just like, yeah, no, it's pretty cool. I'm going to miss him.
Yeah.
And hopefully anyone who's just being a jerk out there, just keep your mouth shut, please. Don't just be nice to your fans. If any of them
It's
drive
a good
you crazy,
idea.
just in fact, if someone was driving me crazy, I would give them a free autograph just so they go away.
Just to make them go.
Everyone would win. And the people in the line would thank you. They'd be like, hey, he was in a hurry.
Yeah,
Took a
yeah.
piece of paper. And if the person really is being awful, then just have extra security there. Just say, hey, why are you asking all these perverted questions to the talent? Can you go away, please?
Right.
Yeah.
Did you actually kill someone on set? Well, first off, why would you ask me that? And no, I didn't. The Mystery Science Theater guys are really good at deflecting humor. Like, you know too much about us.
That's a useful skill.
Rip tracks and new MST4K are cool, but the whole different story. But I still will follow Frank Conniff and Trace Beaulieu with their Mads Are Back tour, because they're just film connoisseurs in general. So they'll always have some fun interaction with the audience, especially if they had a diss that went too far. You're like, oh, did I hurt your feelings? Don't worry, the next riff's even better. I think we've covered all layers.
Yeah. That was a fun discussion.
Yes,
Thanks
for
having.
Ms. Valdez, would you like to promote anything before we take off?
Oh, let's see. I mean, there's always a little something
Still
coming
on
up.
Film Feast.
Yeah. Matt is one of my favorite people to talk movies with.
Yes.
So we have some
So.
things down, ideas, things that will happen soonish. And there's always something. I have fun being the eternal podcast guest. So folks can follow me on Twitter and Letterboxd and kind of on Blue Sky at Carmelita Says.
Kinda. Yes. Awesome. Lovely. Erica, you're always staying busy. You have anything you want to plug in any way?
Well, I haven't really had time to do any blogging for a while, but you can find me on the Cinema Roundtable podcast, which I believe is on Spotify.
Oh, lovely.
And it's also on the KZUM radio station if you live in the Lincoln, Nebraska area.
Woo! Nebraska. Awesome. So I'll aim. How about we try how about we go for October? Some time for homing.
Nice.
Yep, that'd be about third, fourth week. Yeah, that'd be fine. All right. So
sounds good.
Off to the editing table.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much
Anytime.
for having me.
Everyone,
nice.
get some sleep.
Yeah.
And you guys did bring up some anxiety. I can recommend this one cool thing that I've been using. Omnipimp. It imitates brainwaves and de-stresses one.
Interesting.
I put it on the back of your head or just on your chest.
I'm gonna look into that.
they have a 4 installment plan plus a discount. I'm using that along with Quibic, and that gets better sleep.
Nice.
Okay.
Because that's unfortunately the main reason why people have trouble sleeping is just the stress. And I would fear about not fearing, and that added up to why am I going to sleep now at 6? This is bad.
My mother is a teeth grinder in her sleep.
Oh.
And I thought that I was safe. No.
No.
Now, just this last year, I started like, man, what is going on with my mouth? First thing in the morning, I can feel it. I'm like, oh
no.
I'm grinding my teeth in my sleep.
No.
Yikes. Yeah. We all do nervous habits. And then by the time we realize, it's like, oh, I've been scratching myself. Now I got this rash. Oh, shit. Oh.
We find ways of coping.
Bingo.
Podcasting is one of them.
Well,
so thank you.
Bingo. It kept me sane during COVID, and now that we're coming out during COVID, I'm now picking my battles. Like, okay, I'll go there. I'm still not going to concerts.
Sure. Yeah. Makes sense.
Well, I seriously hope it's a fruitful and just uneventful rest of the year. We all got different events to go to. I got to go to a wedding.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Here's hoping.
Yeah. Because even the people who keep us down shouldn't want to even keep putting the hammer down. After a while, it gets boring being the asshole.
Right.
And those guys get COVID, please leave us alone. Because if no one comes to your funeral, that's a sign. I was just listening, and I'll let you go. I listened to a great Slate magazine podcast. I usually would not bother with their movie reviews, but they have the podcast history stuff figured out, and they had one called 1 Year, which talks about crucial events that literally changed the country. And they had one on Harvey Milk and the laws John Briggs imposed. And they talked about how Briggs, no one even wrote an obituary about that son of a bitch when he died at the start of COVID. It's like,
you're dead to us.
Everyone wrote about Harvey and some of the other people who wronged him, but no one wrote about this guy who started the mess because they wanted to sweep him under the rug. Just like, go away.
Bye.
Forever. You hate gays. You think every one of them is a pedophile. Yeah, you're a pretty bad person. You're for the death penalty. Good Lord.
No thanks.
No thanks. And his son became a politician, and he didn't want to spend time with the minors.
Oh, wow.
He's like, yeah, next question. I have nothing nice to say about my dad. Well, fortunately, we got good parents here. So,
hey.
Have
a good night.
Always a delight, guys.
It was fun.
Dynamite.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pretty simple to the
everyone.
point. And let us not encounter any ne'er-do-wells who prey on people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice.
True.
And let's go to a movie and not have anyone throw tomatoes at it. That'd be cool too.
That would also be cool.
Right.
Or film it.
Yeah. There you go.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It happens a lot. I once saw a couple making out at a movie, and it was a serial killer movie. I'm like, good grief.
I don't know. That might be the best place.
I mean, I was a teenager. I've been there, but filming the movie, filming it with your phone, that's crazy.
To their credit, they're in the back of the theater, but I'm just like, okay, this is distracting.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening. It's a jacked up